Hello, everyone. Welcome to Vanlife and Chill, the podcast. I'm your host, Forrest Stevens, and today I'm talking with Kevin and Taylor. They are world travelers with a goal to hit 30 countries before turning 30, and they spent a year outfitting their Sprinter and have some great insights from their experience. So I hope you enjoy this podcast, and thanks for watching.
I'm Kevin.
And I'm Taylor.
And we are Mathers on the Map, a travel van life based YouTube channel. Trying to go more travel focused than just the niche van life, but that's how we started. So we're trying to branch out a little bit.
Tell me a little bit about your sort of van life experience then.
I would say it started in about 2018. He had this huge desire to live in a van when we moved to California. I was a little bit more hesitant until we kind of found a van couple who made it really, really nice. My picture when Kevin was like, let's live in a van, was like the blow up mattress in the back of like a van.
Van down by the river.
Yeah. So in 2019, we actually made the jump, but it needed some serious requirements on my end. So
I started, we were living in Oregon at the time. Taylor's a nurse and she was doing travel nursing, and that's where like the whole van life kind of idea popped into my head. And then it was a lot of negotiation, as Taylor said. And then 2019, we got our van. We got a shell of just a 170 Sprinter van, 2015 cargo. So no windows, no anything. And we flew to Michigan. We're in New Jersey. We flew to Michigan, sight unseen. We put a deposit down just based on the pictures online. It was from a Mercedes dealer, so it wasn't like too sketchy or anything. And we didn't want to lose it. But this was like right before, this was 2019. So I guess like 8 months before
the big van,
like COVID hit and everything started getting like super crazy. So we kind of got in like right in the good time. And then we started doing the van build ourselves, which took about a year. We were both working full time. And then the first week of November 2020 is when I quit corporate and we went full time traveling.
The goal was to be done by June of 2020. However, because of COVID, our original goal was to go to Alaska. And since the borders were shut down for Canada, we kind of lost that little drive.
The van wasn't ready by then anyway, though.
Yeah.
So
we kind of took our time during summer to get it done, which is why we didn't leave until November.
So, Kevin, you mentioned that the idea kind of sparked because Taylor, you were working as a traveling nurse, and so you just thought that was sort of a symbiotic relationship to be able to live in a van and travel from place to place. Was that kind of the inspiration behind starting?
We were camping in Crater Lake. It was like the tail end of September, so probably like September 23rd or something of 2017, or 2018, I don't know. It doesn't matter. But we were camping there, and we were camping in a tent on snow.
In September.
Yeah, Crater Lake is really high in elevation, so the snow, it just snowed like the week before, and we didn't realize it. So we get up there, and it is freezing. We had enough like layers and stuff to be all right, and we survived. But as we're laying in the tent, it's probably like, I don't know, pretty late at this point, we hear this diesel engine coming through the campground. And you hear like the rumble, and then it like parks like probably like 2 campsites from us. And we unzip our tent, and it's freezing out.
Mind you, I'm not really big on tent camping to begin with.
No,
so
Taylor's a little like, she needs some luxury in her life to be pretty happy. So we unzip this tent, and we look through, and it's just one of those Winnebago Sprinter vans, the already professionally converted ones. And the lights are on, and the window shade is down, but you could see a woman's silhouette of her like drinking coffee and like reading a book, and you could hear the sound of the heater running. So it's just like,
meanwhile we're freezing our ass off in a tent.
We're in a tent, and then they're just like in their living room basically. And at that point, I think
that's when I was like, all right, I'm on board.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because I mean, that's the thing about van life is it can be that sense of comfort, that home on wheels, like literally, and But I mean, you were already out there camping, so there must have been that other side of van life that so many people get into it for is also being able to get out in nature, right? It's you have some creature comforts, but then also that nature side. So was that part of the reason that you wanted to also get into that?
Definitely. I think prior to when we were working and living in Oregon, we lived in California. So we visited like Yosemite and the Redwoods. So we really had that desire to like get out and see the national parks and kind of see what this country in general had to offer other than cities. So that was a huge focus for it, to be able to actually like go and visit places and not necessarily have to leave them after 3 hours or however long to get back to a hotel or back home or whatever it is.
Yeah, especially in those like rural areas in the Northwest and in California, national parks too. Because if you go to a national park like Yosemite, you either have to tent camp or you have to stay at like one of those really expensive lodges. They're like $300-400 a night, and it's just like,
or you have to leave completely.
Right. Yes. So where's the van now? I mean, you guys are in a house. I'm curious what's going on currently with your situation.
yeah. So we've been home for the holidays, and we haven't left the van since. We took a recent trip to Canada for the Christmas markets, and then since the holidays, the van's been stationary outside of our house in New Jersey here. And we have a couple trips lined up to go snowboarding again. And then a bigger trip this summer to do the Upper Peninsula in Michigan, and then hopefully get through Banff and Jasper up in Calgary, Edmonton, Alberta area. And then it's kind of, we haven't talked about, we just started brainstorming.
That's
on
one
where
of the main areas that we're both very interested in, and neither of us have ever been. So we want to definitely kind of try to hit that area.
And that's where you're around, right?
Well, I'm originally from British Columbia, Canada. I'm living in Ontario now.
Okay, yeah. So we probably just drove past you like not too long ago then.
Yeah, we probably did. Yeah, and I've been through the Rockies multiple times. I've hitchhiked through there twice, and I've driven through there a couple times as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. The Canadian Rockies, I'm assuming you're saying, right?
Canadian Rockies, yeah, Jasper, Banff, that area.
I want to get there so bad. I've heard so many good things.
Apparently, there's a train that goes from like the eastern side to the west coast of Canada too, right? That's like pretty incredible.
Yeah. There's I think it's called the Via Rail. It's a train. I've never done that, but I've heard it's a pretty cool trip. Interruption from the podcast. I just wanted to let everyone know that I'm doing a cross Canada road trip this year, and I would love to meet up with as many van dwellers as possible to film van tours for different media. So if you want to get your name out there, get some exposure, and be featured on this channel, let's meet up on the road. I think that would be a lot of fun. I can't wait to meet you all, to film with you all, and to hear your stories and to see your unique builds. So there's some contact information in the link below or in the description below or whatever, and you guys can contact me there and let's meet up. To get to know you guys a little bit more, how did you kind of grow up and where did you grow up? What was your upbringing like?
I grew up on the east coast of New Jersey. I mean, New Jersey's not the biggest state, so like from coast to coast, it's an hour. But I grew up on the coastline, and then she kind of grew up.
I grew up closer to Philadelphia, so I was born in a town on the west side of New Jersey, right outside of Philadelphia. So I was more of like your suburb. I played sports. We went to the beach for like family trips. I have an older sister, so it was a lot of just like your typical kind of family upbringing in the suburbs. Nothing too crazy. My parents were not big into like traveling. The family trips I can remember were Florida twice, and the Disney cruise. We went to a dude ranch in Montana.
So don't forget about that.
And I think that's really like it, other than like your like little
in high school.
Well, that was only with my mom and my sister.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my dad's not a huge traveler. So for us, it was like when we moved to California and we started doing all this traveling, it was like, wow, there's a whole world out there that like we've seen so little of. So, yeah. But you traveled a bit growing up.
For me, so right before I moved to the beach, the East Coast of New Jersey in high school, and then I lived kind of in the suburbs, the mainland is what we call it. Before that, and I was really big into hockey, so I was actually going up to Ontario quite a bit. during my youth sports, and then I played hockey in high school and college. So traveling internationally, especially other than Canada, wasn't really a part of our lives at all. And then to Taylor's point too, like I never been to a national park before moving to California with her. So I don't know, maybe it's the Northeast because we have fewer national parks here that you're just not aware of it. But I also feel like you're not as inspired to explore your backyard. So like we're 2 hours from New York City and I have only been there like 5 times. And it's because she dragged me there for the Christmas tree. And like, it was a school trip the other 2 times and the other 2 were work. Like I'd never been to New York City just to like
Go for fun,
really, which is like crazy because you talk to people like all over the country or like internationally. And like their number 2 spots are New York and LA pretty much. So like when we were in California and we were like, yo, we're going to Yosemite this weekend. Like my colleagues would have been like, Yosemite, why are you going all the way there? And I was like, are you serious? Like you never heard of Yosemite? The first time I heard it, I called it Yosemite too. So that's like, I literally had no idea what a national park was.
Yosemite.
But yeah, I don't know. The travel bug kind of kicked on when we were living out in California and doing like the weekend warrior thing and just like going to different places and realizing like what's out there.
I think what also was different for us is because I was a travel nurse there too. You have like 8 weeks in a certain area. So you really want to do and see as much as you can in that area until you move again or you can stay. I mean, depending on what you like. But so I think that's kind of what not pressured us to kind of actually get out there and go explore and like see things, but it kind of the timeline or like knowing that it was going to end really made us want to like see and do as much as we can, which I think now has really played a part in like our travels now. Like when we go somewhere, we still like we want to do and see as much as we can in an area.
You still have that mentality of sort of a scarce amount of time in a location gave you. Yeah. Cause I find that that's such a thing that happens when somebody lives somewhere. It's just like, oh, they don't even bother looking around. But then once you're traveling, it's like, oh, this is so cool. So yeah, I guess the other question I have just like kind of related to this is like, what is it about traveling that you both enjoy?
I think the unknown. And I think when you go someplace, so we just went to Dubai for the first time and like, it was our first time in the Middle East at all. So like that sense of like unknown and like I didn't know what to expect. Yeah, culture shock. Like it's just like so not really thrilling. I don't think that's the word, but like there's just something so exciting about it, in my opinion, that like it just makes me want to go to other places and see like I don't know. You really want to like try to immerse yourself in that culture and like really like understand it because I don't know.
That's for international travel mainly, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I completely agree. It also like kind of brings like a sense of makes you feel grateful for what you have at home. Like we're so fortunate to live where we are, being raised in the family that we have. We have a roof under our head. We have a van. We can go travel. Like you go to different countries, especially like, countries not as wealthy as Canada or the US and, their living conditions and they're happy compared to what we have. Like it just like kind of like, I don't know.
It puts things into perspective.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm trying to think of like, to answer that in like the domestic traveling, because the cultures, I mean, for us from state to state is actually a bit different, but I don't think we're like hunting for that culture shock domestically. Domestically, it's more like, I don't know, we crave like the nature and the national parks here.
Yeah. I would agree with that. And I think it's just now living in different places, you realize that other states have so much to offer that maybe we didn't think about before. And now we're like, well, let's go see what Arkansas is doing. Well, not Arkansas. We've never been there, but
no, but I am interested because there's some areas in Arkansas that have a lot to offer, and it's just like one of those states that just fly under the radar. A flyover state, as they call it.
Yeah, there's always interesting things to see everywhere in the world because And I mean, for me, it's like I love a nice variety in my life. You know, it changing things up. It gives you that change of perspective, but it's also just interesting. And it's like we only get so much time on this world, and you know, it's fun. It's fun to be able to see new stuff, in my opinion.
100% agree. Yeah, time's the only thing we
you know.
can't get back, right, or can't make more of. So
Yeah, exactly. So I'm curious to hear a little bit about what it was like for you when you got the van and it was fully built out and you were going on your first adventure with it. Do you remember sort of what your state of mind was like? Was there some nerves? Okay, well, where are we going to park? How are we going to do this? Yeah, just walk me through sort of the feeling of moving into your van for the first time.
for me, it was like kind of like euphoric. There's a song, we kind of like country music. So there's a song by Zach
Kinda.
Brown Band called Free. And it's like, I heard that while I was building the van. I probably heard it before, but like I really comprehended and recognized the song lyrics when we had the van. And like the lyrics are,
We live out in this old van.
yeah, across this land, just me and you or whatever. And, you know, the first time we took off the road trip our first trip was to Rhode Island,
Yeah, I think so.
to Newport, Rhode Island. We listened to that song first and it was just like, we did it.
It was like the moment. Yeah. All the work, all the hype led up to like that one moment. But as for where to park, I don't think either of us realized like the amount of thinking and decisions that need to be made like quickly while living in a van.
Yeah, the number of decisions was probably the most unexpected thing that you have to deal with, especially as a couple.
Yeah, like how far are you going to drive? Where do you want to park? Do you want to take toll roads? Do you want to take non-toll roads? Are you in a rush to get there? Like, what do you want to see first? Like, there's just so many little
Luckily,
details that I don't think either of us really thought about.
Luckily, our first night was at a Harvest Host. So you're familiar with Harvest Host, or?
I am, but yeah, maybe just give a quick little description. If it's I know it's a website where kind of wineries and farms will allow people to stay, essentially.
Exactly. It's a membership that you can join, where, just as you said, a network of, they even have golf courses now. So wineries, breweries, distilleries, museums, golf courses. We're not sponsored
Farms.
in any way, but we just really,
I wish.
yeah, like we just really enjoy it. I think it's a great way to, especially if you're going to do paid camping. You know, if you're going to go to a campground and pay $30-$40 a night, if you don't need electricity, if you don't need water, if you don't need like anything,
Hookups.
you may as well go to a Harvest Host, spend the money on a good meal or a new beer that you haven't had before, new wine, and then same experience, right? You kind of have it all to yourself.
It's also great. We like to be able to like talk to like the locals. Like, there's no better like a brewery when you sit down at a bar and you talk to like the bartender, like they know so much about the area.
Yeah.
And like it's usually pretty low key, so like they have the time to actually talk to you. So it's like we get a really good sense of the area through Harvest Host, which we really like.
Yeah. I know we kind of like diverted from your question a little bit and going into Harvest Host, but I mean, to answer it, to sum it up, it was euphoric in the very beginning. And then we realized like after our first night, we had no plan. So it was like many decisions, and it was just like we handled it well because we're so used to being together. But, you know, people ask us, how do you live in like 60 square feet and spend all your time together? We manage it pretty well, but
it also helps that prior to this, Kevin worked from home too. So prior to van life in general, with him working from home, I was either at work for 12 hours a day or home. So we've kind of always been together. Yeah. So there's not really any change being in the van, because even if we're together at home, we're most likely in the same room. Like, so it's not really, there wasn't too much of a change there.
That is an interesting thing. Some people obviously do this solo. Some people, couples. I mean, there's families out there that do some sort of van life, bus life. There are some challenges, though, that accompany living in that small space. Maybe I would love to just hear what your thoughts are on that. What is it kind of like being a couple inside that small space, and what challenges uniquely do you face as a couple?
Well, you get really close with your partner because there's no privacy whatsoever. So use music when you have to do your business or something, or kick the other person out. We use music because we tend to travel in cold environments. I don't know why. When we built the van, we did not build it for winter conditions. But
we had the goal of like, we're going to be in warm conditions all the time. And now I feel like half of our van trips are like, do you want to go snowboarding?
Yeah, honestly, that's probably what we're doing. But yeah, what are some challenges? We kind of have like defined roles. Not defined, but we adopted roles throughout like in Baja, we kind of had.
Yeah. Well, I'm the house cleaner or the van cleaner. Kevin is the van dirtier.
Well, I'm more of like the plan. I will find spots to park and stuff, and I'll do more of like the logistic things, and then she'll take care of more of the.
We need to do laundry today.
Right.
That's a priority. Like I'm still the, like, what do you call it? Like the house. I still take care of the house.
Yeah. Luckily for us, like we don't have to we don't work remote for any other company in the van. So we don't have to, commit to certain schedules. And then like one person has to be quiet while we're on a conference call or something. Like when we're in the van, we're usually, working on our vlogs or creating content. So, we don't have to worry about that issue.
Yeah. And we don't normally need to be like near Wi-Fi. So like our parking situation never needs to be specific to like what we're doing unless like we're doing something for the day for a vlog or something, if that makes sense.
We definitely get on each other's nerves. I don't want to make it sound like we're perfect in the van, but we do try to communicate as much as possible. Like if she is frustrated with me, like I will be pretty annoying and get it out of her and like talk about the issue instead of like letting it just sit there and emotions build and build and build. And then we have like this colossal, face off. I try and chip away at it immediately, but it works for us, I guess.
So you touched on the subject there, but I'm sure this is a question that you get on your videos, and this is a question I get all the time. It's kind of like, I guess I just want to start talking about money. You mentioned there you shoot vlogs while you're in the van, but is that your main source of income, like for your entire time, or do you go back to some sort of more standard jobs, or what is your work situation like in combination with your van life experience?
So we kind of have a lot of aspects of this. We do live in a duplex, so we rent the top unit. So we do an 8-month rental in the winter, and then during the summertime, because we live at the beach, we do like Airbnb and stuff like that. So that does help a lot. I still work as a nurse per diem. So when we're home, I pick up shifts and stuff like I'm working full time this week, but it's also, I have to work 3 shifts in 6 weeks. So the demand isn't really like there unless I want it to be, I can kind of be really flexible with my schedule.
When we were traveling in Mexico, in Baja, we had to fly home just so Taylor could get her work, and then we would fly back to the van. So it does like kind of create, some hassle, I guess, when we are full time in the van. But when we're home, like right now, like Taylor's picking up as much as she can because there's bonus with, everything going on. So there's an increased demand, pays better. But yeah, so I quit corporate in November of 2020. So YouTube has been my full-time career. Before YouTube, solely YouTube, I also had like a side hustle with Amazon, which helped kind of, build our little nest egg of savings because YouTube's not making what my corporate job was at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
We're making money. Don't get me wrong. Like we make decent money. Like I'm happy. But we also do like affiliate income. So Amazon affiliate. So our entire YouTube channel started with the van build, which kind of helped us create or earn money from YouTube, even with a small following. Because when people go to watch our content, they're not really looking to get entertained. They're looking to learn how we build our van. I'm not saying our method is perfect by any means, but we recommend the products that we use in the description below and the links. And if they click on that link, we get affiliate commission off that. So we started earning a little bit of money before I quit full time. And then now it's strictly just, YouTube. And we're starting to do some brand partnerships now that we're getting a little bit bigger, which is pretty cool. And hopefully that'll continue to grow.
Maybe tell me a little bit about your van build, just so I can get an idea of what your setup is like, what kind of components, maybe electrical system, your build out structure, design, just whatever you want to tell me about that.
You want to do the electrical?
Definitely not. So the design was my kind of area of expertise, and like the finishing touches, what we wanted it to look like. So we have just like a small closet, a bathroom.
We were really inspired by
Sarah and Alex.
Yeah, they're popular on YouTube, and they had created kind of the layout that we did. We kind of molded two layouts together, like blended them. But then from a design perspective, like the interior designer, it's all you. Yeah, but that's where we kind of got the layout.
Yeah. But we needed a full shower and a toilet. Well, I needed that.
That was her requirement.
I also needed like a kitchen I wanted the stovetop to be like in the counter, not like one of those ones that you're constantly putting away. So we have a full kitchen on one side, and then like a dresser, and our bed converts to our table in the back, which is lifted so that we can fit like surfboards and snowboards and all that kind of stuff in like the garage part underneath.
Yeah, we have about 18 inches of garage space in height, and then it goes back, I think, like 6.5. But with the Sprinter, you have like that extra like 4 or 5 inches with the doors. They don't come. I don't know. It's like a little like additional space, so I could fit when we went down to Baja, I had 2 surfboards in it, and then snowboarding, we could get 2 snowboards in no problem, and other stuff too, which is really nice. And then on top we have like a deck where I could strap down things as well, which is cool. But for electrical, we have 400 watts of solar on the roof, and then we have 300 amp hours worth of lithium batteries, and we got a 3,000 watt inverter, so Taylor can run our hair dryer. We can run a hot water heater, and then we never really run into any issues. We also have an isolator hooked up to our alternator, so we have 3. Well, that's 2 methods of charging, and we also have shore power, which we never use once.
And is your cooking setup, is it electrical or propane?
It's propane. Yeah, we don't have a big propane lockbox like I know we should, or what everyone recommends. We actually use those little like 6 or 1 pound. I think it's 1 pound.
Yeah, those little green ones. Yeah,
because they're super easy to find in like anywhere. Any Walmart has them, and there's Walmarts everywhere. And then you can. I don't know. We carry like 2 or 3 extra. Even in Mexico, we had no problem getting them. So it was really, it worked for us.
Plus, then you can carry extra, and like they don't take up that much space. Like if we had a big one and we ran out, and we had like, it would be way more of a process.
It's another thing to think about, and
it's another decision.
Take into your itinerary, or like just to look for, and you want to try and reduce as many as you can.
Yeah.
So what are some of the most memorable experiences that you've had in your van?
Definitely Baja. I mean, Baja is just Baja's just incredible. Absolutely incredible.
But we like to be at the beach, and we like to surf. So I don't know if it's a little biased, but we literally, I mean, it definitely helps, right? Because we lived on the beach for 5 days straight until we ran out of water and had to go back.
There's also just so many overlanders down there that like you just meet a lot of cool people who like are very like-minded. So it's just like, I don't know. It's like one of the only places I feel like that we've been that like you're always running into someone who like lives in a van.
Yeah.
And it's like kind of refreshing because I don't know, like here there's very few people who live in a van, or like
in the Northeast, that is.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't know, it's nice to be able to be around people who have similar interests.
Yeah. And then where else? I mean,
I also loved, like, I was so shocked at how much I enjoyed our like winter van life snowboarding. Can
we plug ourselves? We We just did a video on our top 10 van life destinations in North America. And granted, we haven't explored everywhere, but so Baja was top 1 and 2. And then we broke Baja down a little bit. We said if, Baja overall blows out every single spot. So if we could, it would have just been one spot. It would have just been Baja. That's the top van life places. But no, we did, like, Utah was really cool. Southeast Utah really was cool. Awesome. Sedona.
Maine's coastline is really, really nice.
Right. The Tetons were unbelievable. That was in the winter, though. The Grand Tetons for snowboarding. It was awesome.
Yeah. We also went to several places that I feel like you should go in the summer,
right,
in the winter. So, like, we went to Yellowstone in the winter. We went to Grand Tetons in the winter, which was awesome. But I am curious what they would be like in the summer.
Yeah.
But one memorable moment that doesn't even, like, not on the top 10, but our beginning of our van life winter last year, we got stuck in the snow on the side of the road in Vermont. And we were, like, toying with the idea of, like, should we get KO2s? Like, yeah, let's get them, but we don't need them for this trip.
Well, and the forecast did not have any snow. There was no snow in the forecast, and we didn't have snow tires or all-terrain tires at the time. So it was risky.
Yeah, we were chugging up a mountain until we no longer were making it, and we ended up in, like, a ditch.
We were stupid. We went up to Vermont to go snowboarding for 2 days, and the second day we got, like, not dumped on, but we got like 1 to 2 inches relatively fast. So we snowboarded a little bit longer than we should have. We stayed in the parking lot because in the van, your home is in the parking lot, so you're like, you get undressed with your snowboard gear and you're just chilling. You grab a beer and some food and you just, like, hang out instead of, like, getting the heck out of there. And we just followed Google Maps on the quickest route, and the quickest route was through this mountainous road that was up a mountain and then had windy turns, and we couldn't even make it up the mountain. It was so bad.
We were going maybe like 15 miles an hour.
No, slower than that, definitely.
All right, well,
our wheels would just spin. So we would, like, grab traction, make it 6 feet, spin out again, spin out. And then we saw, like, a little pull off. So we were coming up and there was, like, a pull off to a driveway. So I was like, all right, let me just make it there. And then I'll try and just back into this, use the momentum of going downhill and back in. And then I could forward out and make that K-turn. But
right into the ditch we went.
Yeah. On the side of the road, there's a ditch and our back tires just dipped down. That's on YouTube too. We got pulled out by a very kind gentleman
who told us, do not continue going this way.
Yeah. Thank God we didn't make it, because he said, like, there's really tight turns going downhill and people get stuck there all the time. And I'd much rather, our situation, we were safe. It was fine. But
yeah, that was probably one of our most memorable, like, bad van life moments, because we were just like, shit.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that is a good one. That's part of the risk, I guess, is just planning your trip a little bit around weather. It's a concern, especially in a van, right? So you mentioned this earlier, Harvest Host. You've mentioned Walmart's. Well, I guess you mentioned getting propane at Walmart's, but what kind of areas do you find that you park at?
Ideally, Harvest Host.
Not ideally. Ideally, places like
okay, ideally places in the middle of nowhere where there's nobody around and you're surrounded by, like, the ocean.
That you find yourself. Like, Overlander's awesome.
Beautiful, like, mountain in Utah. But if we're parking around people, ideally Harvest Host. We do park at a lot of Walmarts.
Yeah.
And Cracker Barrels, just because of the convenience, and they're everywhere. And if we're lazy, we're just like, all right, this will do. Like,
yeah, if we're moving, like, if we're waking up and we're out, it's Walmart or Cracker Barrel or whatever, Cabela's, just so we can keep moving. But paid camping, I would say Harvest Host.
Yeah.
If we have a decision, like, we can go to a campground or a Harvest Host, we're going to Harvest Host every single time because it's a new experience.
Yeah. I think we've only ever stayed at maybe 2 campgrounds.
Yeah, I think Florida and
the one with
I don't know the other one.
The one with Mike.
Oh, in North Carolina. Yeah, the East Coast. So our first, like, big road trip was basically the coastline of the eastern U.S. It's not easy finding free camping on the East Coast. It's brutal, honestly.
So I'm curious, it sounds like, you've figured out places to park, but have you ever gotten the knock before?
So the first time we were at a boat ramp in the Outer Banks, and it was pouring out, like absolutely dumping. So we thought we were good for it. And we've read online, like the Outer Banks are nearly next to impossible to get free camping or stealth camping, whatever. So it's like 2 a.m. and there's a bright spotlight shining on our window. And we usually use window covers and stuff, but like through the cracks, you can see bright light getting shine on you.
And this place was in the middle of nowhere. So like there was no lights. We knew like it had to have been like a cop.
Yeah. Well, we like pull down the corner of it and you see two car lights and a spotlight like right next to it. So it's a cop. And we're like, oh crap, we're screwed. And then we just hear like the sound of the windshield wiper like lift up and like smack the glass, the windshield. I was like, that was weird. And then he pulled away and drove off. And I was like, no way. So I thought we had a ticket. And I like opened up the door after he pulled out and then got it. The note's like super wet and the ink starting to drain, but it says like
Caleb.
Yeah,
his name is Caleb.
Yeah, the officer Caleb. He just said like, hey, just an FYI, you're not allowed to overnight camp in the Outer Banks or in whatever county we were in. But tonight, like, you guys are good. I looked you guys up because we have the Mathers on the Map logo on our van, which I don't know. It could be a bad thing, but it worked out in that scenario. Free marketing and free get out of jail free, I guess, or whatever.
You got one view from the officer at least?
Yeah, we got one view.
Right.
But so he let us go for that night. But then the second time, we're out of the Outer Banks now. We're in like southern North Carolina. Topsail was right next to Topsail, I think.
I clearly can't remember.
But this was an overlander spot, and then we got the knock, and it was pretty aggressive knock.
Oh, yeah. I thought we were
he put like dents in our doors and stuff. It was like... So we opened the sliding door, which I regret doing. Like, next time we get a big knock like that, I'm going to open
We didn't know it was a cop originally,
right.
So that's why he's saying he regrets doing it.
We had a good idea it was a cop, because the coastline in North Carolina is like a pretty expensive area. So I don't think like your friendly neighbor is going to go out there with a handgun and try and get you. But what I'm trying to say is, like, if you do get a knock, for safety purposes for yourself, don't just assume. Like, pull down the window cover, make sure it is someone, because it could be someone with bad intent who's trying to do something. So never just open your door for anyone is what I'm trying to say. But that time, I just opened it and we just talked to them. They were curious about the van, really. They were like looking inside, asking us where we're traveling from, and then just told us to go to the Walmart. So it wasn't bad.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happens. I think getting the knock is a big fear of a lot of people getting into this. But I mean, as long as it's not some shady activity, it's really just somebody asking you to move on, and you just do that, and it's not too big of a deal in most cases.
Yeah, and they're like just curious of the lifestyle too, and just have a conversation, and it's really they're all friendly, really.
What kind of advice do you have for somebody that's thinking about getting into van life, or specifically maybe even doing the DIY route like you guys did, building your own van? What kind of advice would you have for someone interested in that?
I mean, I think if you're interested in the DIY route and that's what you want to do, like, go for it 100%, because I mean, we've only stayed in our van. However, I feel like it's so much homier than like, oh yeah, okay, we did one in Portugal, but it was like, it's very like RV, you know what I mean? So it takes that like, like hominess out of it, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know, things are just made differently, and like everything's so,
I think
I don't really know how to explain it. Like, I like our van because like it's how we want it. You know what I mean? Like, it's everything that we want is there. It's like we thought through like how things are going to work and where we're going to put things. Whereas like if you don't, then like there may not be like an overhead cabinet where you want it or something like that. So I think if you're willing to do the work, the product that you'll get, you could be happier with.
Is the question, like the person is already determined, they have determined that they are definitely getting into van life. And the question is, do you do the DIY route, or do you do, you buy used camper van, or you buy
I
like
was more
the
just
Rebel?
curious about, like, because you have experience with the DIY route, somebody that's like hasn't committed to anything yet, but is just interested in doing that route to begin with, the DIY route. Like, what kind of advice would you give to that person?
Yeah, the reason why I asked that is because we rented a van. We traveled to Portugal and rented a van instead of doing hotels and stuff, just to make sure before this big investment that van life was something that we enjoyed. So I wanted to say it just because I thought that was really good. Obviously, renting a van isn't the cheapest thing you can do, but it's just making this investment and then figuring out you don't like it is more money.
So do some trial first, maybe.
Right. But for the DIY build, for us, it took longer than expected, obviously. We were working full time though, and only on weekends. So, and I built it on the street of our house, and we kind of live in like like our lots
Little
are really
neighborhood.
small. So everyone's on top of each other. So we have no land. So I built it on the street. But it took longer than expected. And then I would say, kind of if you're tight on budget, kind of future proof the van, right? So if you can only afford, your electrical is going to be the most expensive thing without a doubt. So if you can only afford, AGM batteries or only two 100 amp hour batteries, and you're not sure if it's going to be enough for the electrical needs, but you're willing to make the sacrifice for the first year of van life, maybe build out your electrical box or compartment area like a little bit bigger so you can
Switch them out.
upgrade to 3 100 amp hour batteries or 4, however much you need, right? Like kind of think about that. Like for us, we built ours with additional space so I could fit a 4th battery in if we needed it, but we don't, which is great. But if we sell this down the road and someone does, they have that capacity to do so. I don't know. That's kind of how I would recommend it. Anything else you think? I don't know.
I also think if you're interested in van life and you want to do it, like, do it, because it's really a cool experience.
Don't
and
wait.
It's like, it's worth it if it's something that you want to do, for sure.
Yeah, there's a really good van build series on YouTube too that's under Mathers on the Map that you can watch and check out if you want.
That's what they call a shameless plug right there.
Yeah.
And you have some experience with, going into the mountains. You've talked a lot about being in the winter in van life. What kind of advice would you give to somebody that is expecting some cold climates in their van? What kind of components or what kind of build would you recommend?
Insulate your pipes. And apparently there's this heated mat that you can put under your water compartment. Definitely recommend that too.
Tank.
Because that is our biggest issue, is weather and like how cold it's going to get and whether our pipes would freeze.
Even if you're not thinking about being in winter, if you like skiing or snowboarding or just like to live in the north, like just insulate your pipes and consider cold temperatures, because these cold fronts come out of nowhere and you could find yourself in a really cold environment on a surprise, So I would definitely consider a heater no matter what, even if you're...
Oh, definitely. A diesel heater is required.
Yeah, like 40 degrees can get pretty cold in a van, and blankets are great and all, but, it's nice to just stay a little bit warmer. You can get them pretty cheap on Amazon. We have the Airtronic one with SPAR, which is a little bit more pricey, but we knew we would be in some cold temperatures, so we wanted to have something reliable, Insulate the pipes. The heat map's really good.
We don't have that, but I wish that we did.
Yeah, we don't. There is, you got to consider your gray tanks too underneath the van. Ours are underneath the van, and it's pretty difficult to keep them not frozen. So, we don't really have a mechanism to prevent them from freezing, which, isn't the best. But, when we do have to let our soapy water go on the ground or whatever, we make sure that we're using organic soap and products that are biodegradable and stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely, there's a lot to consider with van life and building out a van for sure. And I guess, yeah, my other question here is I would love to know your opinion on sort of the realities of van life versus the sort of the internet of van life, the Instagram hashtag van life. Can you talk to me a little bit about just your opinions on reality versus the hashtag?
Yeah. Well, I think that's why we like YouTube so much, because YouTube kind of paints, I'm not going to say the real picture, because obviously videos are edited and to make it more entertaining, but we do try and keep it real as much as, I mean, we keep it real. We just don't really share our pooping scenes or something like that. Um, but yeah, I think, on average, the nights we spent in the van aren't going to be at a beautiful campsite. We spent countless nights at Walmart parking lots in Cracker Barrels. So the reality that you're going to be sleeping on the beach all the time is non-existent. Maybe if you're in Baja, that's true. But even in Baja, we had some like pretty crappy nights where we slept right next to a resort and had their spotlights shining down in our window the entire night. And when it's 75 degrees outside, you can't just close that window and put a cover up. Like, you need it open to cool yourself down. So yeah, it's definitely not as pretty and glamorous as Instagram is.
Yeah, I think it's also like you see all those pictures on Instagram and like the van's so tidy and like everything is perfect. And like in reality, like the van is always a mess. Like there's nowhere to put anything. So they're like your countertops always have like computers, cameras, like food that you're cooking. Like they're always covered. And then you have to like clean everything up before you move. And like then it has to be tidy. But like it's just like it never looks the way it does in pictures in like real life. Like that was set up to look that way. Like it doesn't really, that's not really reality of van life.
Don't get us wrong. Like we made like we took some pictures where like the setup is nice and stuff, but it's not comfortable at all when you're doing that. Like you see over the holidays, you have some pictures on Instagram where people like create a bonfire and then they sit outside with the projector on their van and they're watching like a Christmas movie. Like guaranteed they're not sitting out there watching that movie. You know what I mean? They're spending like a couple hours setting that up,
creating that scene,
getting that scene, and then taking the thousands of shots, like hundreds of shots. And then you got to edit all those shots. You're probably like talking like 6 hours of work for that one picture. And then you're not enjoying it. So like for everyone who thinks about it, like there's actually a lot of work that goes into it. And the amount of effort to pull off a picture like that, I don't really know if it's, it's a lot.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, for sure. I'm curious, just to get to know you guys a little bit more, what are some of your personal beliefs that sort of bring you up in life when you're feeling low?
I think we really try to be like, live for like the moment and not really worry about like things that we can't control. I try to do that at least. I know that there are a million things that I wish I could change, but I can't. So I try just to kind of live by that.
For me, it's about like taking ownership and trying not to point blame on other people, right? Like if I don't know what the example would be, but I'm trying to think of like a good example on the fly and I'm falling apart here. But that would be one, like take ownership of your choices and stuff. Try not to point blame, but then also try to look for the positive side of every environment, or every situation. Like for skiing or something, we try not to ski on the weekends, but if it's snowing or something, or if it's, I don't know, you just try and find like, okay, well, it's going to be really crowded, but we're going to get like 5 inches of snow. So try and think through that positive outlook instead of the negative one, or just having that positive mindset as much as you can, like going to the gym. Everyone's talking about going to the gym in the beginning of the new year, but most people like hate going to the gym. Think of the mindset that I am able to go to the gym. Like I have all my limbs work. Like I have the ability to go run, and people don't. Like there's people who are, with disabilities who can't do that. So don't take it for granted. And I think traveling, helps reassure that. Again, going to what we said earlier, it changes your perspective. It makes you realize what you have and what others don't. And I don't know, trying to do that.
It's a real simple shift of perspective. The way I like to say it, and I'll use your example, but it's instead of just saying like I have to go to the gym, it's I get to go to the gym.
Right.
It's looking at life a little bit just with simple gratitude and positivity goes a long way, I find too.
Yeah, for sure.
I started doing 3 things I'm grateful for every morning. I used to do that a lot back in like when we weren't traveling in the van, but I just started it for the new year now. And it's just another little thing. And it's like, I'm grateful that we have a heater that works, like simple things, but just like, I don't know, start your mind in a positive way and just kind of help carry that through the day.
I think it's also important to realize, like, to be grateful for like the little things. Like we want a single family house, but we still live in a duplex, but we live in a house, you know what I mean? Like it might not be exactly the house that we want right now, but like we live in a house, you know what I mean? Or like, we don't have to ride our bike to work. We have a car. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just like find like the little things that you can be grateful for, even if it's not exactly what you want.
There's a little rough patch in that because we try to apply for a mortgage. And since I quit my corporate job and no longer have a stable income, it's like, I don't know if you're going to get approved for one. So it's just like that right there. It's making me smile because we kind of just had like a down moment on it the other week, but.
Damn. I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm sure, with time, we just bought our first home that I'm in right now. It's an old farm home, but we did it completely off of my YouTube income and got a mortgage with it. So it is possible. It is possible.
That's awesome. Congrats.
Yeah. Congrats. That's so sweet.
Yeah, for sure. So what's next for you two?
So we're both 29, and in the beginning of the conversation today, we kind of said that we don't want to be just a van specific channel. Obviously the van's going to be a part of us, and the way we travel is we're always going to look for overlanding opportunities in the future.
We do really like van life.
Yeah.
Like it has nothing to do with van life. The van limits us to places that we can drive to, and we want to see a whole bunch of places. So
yeah, we wanted to hit 30 countries under 30, and we're at 24 right now. We both turned 30 in May. So it's coming up.
Yeah.
And with COVID going on, like it's very difficult. We were supposed to go to Barbados this week, and we couldn't find a test anywhere to get into the country. So we had to cancel all of that. But to answer your question, snowboarding trip in the Northeast, snowboarding in Colorado, hopefully some international trips to Central America where we can get some surfing in, and then a big van life road trip to Alberta.
Yeah. The goal is to get to our 30 under 30. If not, we'll just hopefully get to 30 by like August. But we do want to continue like van travels, or even if we can travel in a van in another country. So we do want to continue the van life channel a bit, but we also want to add in international destinations as well.
Nice. And where can people follow your adventures?
Instagram and Facebook are Mathers on the Map. YouTube is Mathers on the Map.
Definitely YouTube.
Yeah.
That's where we put all our most of our energy in. And Instagram too. But YouTube is definitely the driver.
Yeah, we send out like monthly newsletters. So if they want to be a part of that, they can go to our blog, which is also Mathers on the Map, and sign up to be a part of that.
And you get our overnight camping map, or our map of every spot we stayed in the van
to date.
So that's pretty cool. And it's nice because we have like a little like track record of everywhere we've been.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for being on the podcast. I really enjoyed talking with you both today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks everyone for watching and listening. I sure hope you enjoyed this episode. I mean, if you made it all the way here, I'm sure you did. New episodes of this podcast come out every Thursday. So thanks everyone again, and we'll see you there.